Welcome back to Completing Football Manager 2024. My name is Anders, and this is the save game where we are trying to win every single playable nation on Football Manager 2024. This is nation number 21, and we are off to Peru. If you enjoy this series, please make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, share it around with all your friends, do all of the great things to make sure other people can watch these series as well. And here we go. We're at Sporting Cristal, who have offered us the job as their new manager. It took them a month to offer us an interview after sacking their previous manager, but let's go through and have a look and accept the 2-year deal they're offering and try and figure out how on earth the Peruvian league system is set up. And we're nice sky blue, aqua kind of colour. No, it's more sky blue for some reason. It was a little bit more aqua-y on that one. They play a 4-3-3 just like everyone else in the world. That's probably not going to change. Yep, wonderful. We're not going to meet the press because we're not going to do that daft thing. Right, let's figure out what on earth is going on. Right, Club Sporting Cristal are third in the Torneo Clausura, ending part of the league. It's split into two, I believe. Let's have a look at who our best player is first. It's Boris Paredes, who is a 29-year-old striker. He's only got 4 goals so far in the league. Is that one? No. Okay. I think he's got 1 in the second half and 3 in the first half. When I applied for the job, the first half hadn't finished. That's how long it's taken them to offer me the job. This guy, Edson Melendez, is a youngster left midfielder. He looks good, according to the star ratings. Joshua Flores, yep, he's left midfielder. Club captain is Paredes, and Sebastian Torres is vice captain, another striker. That looks like we're going to be playing 2 up top. That is for sure. 2 strikers is what I'm going with if we've got 2 really good strikers. Right, let's have a look at the league structure because I'm not sure. I think basically you have 2 halves. You play everyone once. Sport Boys won the first half. Who wins the second half? I don't know yet. We're doing quite well in the second half. 2 wins and a draw. Let's have a look at the rules. So you get through to a Champions playoff. Is that it? Is it just literally whoever wins either half goes through to a Champions playoff? The winner wins everything. So is there an overall? What happens to the overall playoff? Okay, so the overall, the team who qualifies for the Champions playoff, if one of the winners finishes outside the top 8 in the overall table, the winner of the overall table will go through to the Champions playoff. Is that right? Believe so. Finish within 3rd and 8th. I'm confused. Basically, win one half of the league to get into it overall, potentially. What's the overall table looking like? Where do we sit? Okay, we sit 8th. So if we win the second half, we will do well. Because where do we finish? We finished 10th in the first half. So winning the second... We could do this in half a season, is what I'm trying to get my head around. That's my challenge. Try and win the Clausura second half of the season, and that might put us to the Champions playoff. And if it does, this is going to be a very short video because I'm taking that as winning the league. Past winners include us in 2057, which is only 7 years ago. Obviously, the league has only been loaded since 2063, and we finished runner-up in the 2 that weren't loaded. Plenty of runners-up, plenty of wins here. Look at that. The 30s and 40s were dominant. Right, that's the challenge. Win the second half of the season, get to the Champions playoff, win the Champions playoff, move on to Chile. There we go. Let's see how I get on in that feat as we play through the second half of the season. Well, we might do a quick... let's just have a look at the squad and figure out what we're going to do in terms of formation. Because it looks like we've got a good left-back, some good defenders here, centre-backs. A quite old guy there for Cameroonian. So it's going to be a back four. If we can find someone to play on the right-back position, maybe this guy. I don't know how... Is he a right-back or is he a centre-back? He's a right-back, so maybe he could be our right-back. We've got 2 strikers, which is good. It's going to be some formation that includes 2 strikers and 4 defenders. There's an attacking midfielder here who is pretty handy, and then we've got a left winger here. Maybe we'll go 4-3. No, that's not the right number of players. It'll be 4-4-2, I think. But whether we have we'll have an attacking midfielder in there, maybe some wingers, maybe not. I will see how we get on. We'll do vertical tiki-taka because apparently that is a good formation to have. I don't want 1 striker, I want 2. Maybe we do a diamond. No, we don't want to do a diamond. That's just bizarre. We'll go with that to begin with. but we will not have. We'll have 2 strikers. That's for damn sure. Can we do something bizarre like that? Let's just pick without restriction the best 11 and see what holes that throws up. Right back's a hole, which I think we had already identified. Defensive midfield is also potentially a hole. What if we put him there and do that? Slightly better, possibly not better. We'll figure out what to do with the midfield, because I think we definitely need 2 strikers. I'm potentially thinking like that, and maybe we'll get a right back and a defensive midfielder in. Let's have a look. Scouting-wise, transfer window is closed for a long time. Does that mean we've just missed a transfer window? 164 days is a long time to go without transfers. So, potentially missed a transfer window if we look. Yeah, that's closed quite recently. Never mind. So we're not going to be able to strengthen the squad at all. But we're going to play with some sort of formation that's a bit too attacking like that, and hopefully we'll dominate and win the second half of the season. But right, we'll do that. We'll play through the second half of the season. If you're new to this style of video, basically we do a little introduction when we join a club. We either go through pre-season or half a season, have a check-in, and then we come in at the end of the season, have another check-in. And if we haven't won the league, we'll obviously go through pre-season again and keep rolling. So we do start of the season, end of the season, and middle of the season. They're not the right order. Start, middle, and end. That's the right order. Until we win, basically, and complete the nation. And then we move on to the next one. But, right, let's play the second half of the season and see if we can win. Okay, so it was probably a little bit ambitious to believe we could win the Peruvian League in just 14 games or whatever we've done here. But we have done something really good. So the start when we joined was here at the end of July. Won the first 3 games, lost 1, and then generally just picked up a lot of points along the way. And as you can see here, we got to the Champions Playoff semi-final. So if we look at the Clausura league table, this is the closing half of the league. We won it, basically. 39 points, 12 wins, 3 draws, 2 losses. Just pipped Alianza by a point. They finished second in both the Apertura and the Clausura. Sport Boys, who won the opening league, finished down in 8th. So basically copied what we did. The overall table put us 3rd, just behind them. If we'd have been just ahead of them, we'd have got through to the final. But we didn't, obviously. Sport Boys did. We faced Alianza in the semi-final, and they beat us. So it was quite straightforward for them, really. We were 1-1 in the second leg, 1-0 in the first. And that was it, basically. They went on to win the second leg in both games. I don't know why you get 6 points in the final and not in the semi-final. But either way, they are the national champions. So they've won. We haven't. We'll have to try and topple them next season. Obviously, they've got a lot of money, a lot of wage budget. Doing quite well continentally if you have a look at their competitions page. I think they got to the semi-finals. No, they won. They won the Libertadores. So there you go. That's what we're up against. Obviously, Brazil and Argentina aren't loaded at the moment, so that probably gives them a slightly better opportunity to do things because they're one of the leagues that are loaded, but it's still surprising all the same. I'm not sure many Peruvian sides have ever won the Libertadores, but there we go. That's something we can try and do next season. In terms of us, so yeah, we finished 3rd overall. Obviously, we didn't do the opening stage. We won the second stage. Got knocked out in the Libertadores before I even joined, so that doesn't mean anything. The squad itself has done really well. Paredes has got top goal scorer with 13 goals, but he does not want to renew his contract. I don't know if we're going to be able to save him or not and retain him, but there we go. Yeah, Rodriguez came off the bench a lot and got the highest average rating, but Valenzuela was the highest average rating of the guy who started the most games, so there you go. Maldonado did well off of the left back position. But now we know we're staying for a full season. We've got some houses to clean and some positions to change, and basically this squad is going to get revamped over the winter transfer window, with any luck at least. We definitely need some defensive midfielders. I believe we also probably need a right back, and it's probably likely going to need a new striker or a new right winger, because Sebastian Torres is a striker and a right winger, so we could in theory get a new right winger and put him into the striking position. Valenzuela is also an attacking midfielder come striker, so he could probably get a few starts in there. We've got options, essentially is what I'm saying, but we definitely need some defensive midfielders because if we look at the guys who are playing defensive midfield, they're not as good as the rest of the squad, and we need to improve there. Potentially more in the defensive area as well. It's definitely a right back. Potentially some centre backs. Basically, a lot of transfers are going to need to happen. Looking at the finances, that's going to help sort that situation out. We've got about 11 grand. No, yeah, about 11 grand left in this wage budget once we get to the new season and some transfers and some contracts expire. Put plenty in the transfer budget. I'm going to try and basically shift that around a little bit and get to a point where we can hopefully strengthen the squad and challenge Alianza for the league title. Interesting, this is the first time I've finished third place since 2044 in Ireland. So 20 years ago we finished third, and I think we then went on to win the next season potentially. Let's have a quick look at that whilst we are here, because well, why not? Let's have a look at the records. League positions. So we finished third in the 2043. I thought it was 44, and then won the league the year after in 2044. So no, that doesn't make sense either. That's not what happened. We've won the league in 2046. Was that just that was best position, highest league position, not finishing position. Wonderful. History. How do we get to managers? Where do we go here? We left in 2046. Yeah, so we won the league in 2046. It was 2044. We finished third place in. So that's no use to anyone. That wonderful. Never mind. Right. What we need to not focus on Shelbourne. We need to actually go back into our position in Peru and look to strengthen Sporting Cristal over the transfer window. I'm not sure, when does the league actually start again? That is a good question. February. So we've got 2 months. We've got 2 months to rebuild the squad. The transfer window opens in 25 days. And we'll basically have a lot to do in those 2 months' time. So let's go do them, and we'll be back with the beginning of season number 2 here in Peru. Okay, pre-season is done, and we've made a whole load of changes and strengthened the squad no end. Right, we'll just go straight into the new players that have joined us. So we've essentially looked at the squad and gone, defence is where we need to focus. Defence and goalkeeper. So, first few signings made on the 1st of January were Jacobo Torre, free transfer, comes, he's from the Ivory Coast. He spent 3 years in Colombia, and then before that didn't exist in the game. But he is a right back who can also play at left back and is very, very quite handy in both. Very, very quite handy. That's a terrible sentence, but he's quite handy in both positions on both sides of the pitch. His attributes looking pretty good as well. I reckon he is well and truly, well, he's definitely better than Marcos Gambetta, who he is replacing at right back. But yeah, he's going to slot straight into the first team. So is countryman Colombian Sebastian Gaviria. He has had a lot of history in the game actually so far. So he comes to us on a free after leaving Union Magdalena. He's played for Junior, America de Cali, Envigado, Boyacá Chico. He's basically been all over the Colombian top flight. But he joins us now, age 28. He's got some 14 tackling, 13 marking, 11 heading. They're not jumping off the page amazing attributes, but his physicals are, and he's got some good leadership as well, and bravery, and basically I think he's going to be one of our starting centre-backs, or very much close to being. And then we've definitely got a new starting goalkeeper, because this guy, another Colombian, would you believe, 28-year-old, comes on a free. He was previously at America de Cali as well, but he is very much an improvement over all of the goalkeepers we've got in the squad. He's definitely going to be our new number one. He's got a fickle personality though, which is a little bit disappointing, but he should generally be well developed already, so we don't have to go through that development cycle of trying to turn someone who's got some potential into something good. Because he's fickle, he looks like he's already good, so that's fine. Some good communication, good concentration, shot stopping looks to be pretty good. I'm happy with him joining the squad. We then made some more transfers as we got throughout January. Ivan Ortega came from Sport Boys, who, if you remember, were lost in the final of the championship last time around. He cost us 750k plus a part exchange, we'll cover in a second. And again, this guy is a centre-back. He might not be particularly good in the air, but everything else is good. Again, another strong centre-back. He's Peruvian, so that's why he cost a little bit more. But he joins our defence as well. Only 24, so probably will develop. Gabriel Villacorta, He left. He was the guy who went out, by the way, on that part exchange. So he went to Sport Boys. He's just a youngster with a little bit of potential, but generally speaking, not developed that well. And then the final guy who we brought in so far was Edson Valencia. Again, he comes in from on a free from Juan Auric, again in local, so another Peruvian. So we basically filled out our 6 foreign player slots. We need to get some Peruvians in to fill out the rest of the squad, and he looks very good. He's going to be either a central midfielder or attacking midfielder, because we've changed the formation as well. We'll cover that one in a second. So we did have defensive midfielders as our weakness, but we've now changed the formation so we don't have a defensive midfielder. Loads of loans out. A couple of sales. This guy, Carlos Ramirez, again, he was a youngster with a little bit of potential, but not that much. He's gone to Sport Boys for 150 to 220k. Luis Manchego's gone as well. Again, a youngster, no real potential there. The one guy who we are disappointed to leave left on a free at the end of his contract. He's currently a free agent still, Boris Paredes, but he is looking like he's about to join Universitario, who are obviously in our league. We wanted to bring him back and keep him, but he just didn't want to, which he will be missed. He was a good goal scorer for us last season. He was top goal scorer with 13 in the league, but we're hoping to replace that with what we've already got within the squad, so we're not too worried there. Speaking of the squad, I mentioned the formation we've changed. We've gone to a 4-3-2-1. We're calling it Crystal Clear because it's Sporting Cristal. 4 at the back, 3 in midfield, 2 attacking midfielders, 1 striker. Bit like a Christmas tree. So there we go. But yeah, 4-3-2-1 is the new formation we are going to be using going forward, and I think this is possibly our new best 11. We're going to have Torres leading the line. Here, Valenzuela will probably be starting in the midfield and going forward. He's probably going to chip in with a lot of goals as well. He will be heir apparent to the throne. And that's it, basically. We've set the squad up nicely. I reckon we've got a very, very good chance of taking the title this year. Obviously, we won the Clausura title last season after I joined, but didn't quite make it through to the playoffs. So if we can get up there and win the Apertura, that kind of puts us into the playoffs already, and then we just have to stay within touching distance at the top to get into the top 2 of the league table overall. If we win both halves, obviously, we're automatically champions, so that is clearly the target. We've been drawn a relatively tough Libertadores group, Caracas from Venezuela, Palmeiras, who are obviously going to be one of the better sides from Brazil, and then Penarol as well, one of the best side in Uruguay. So it's going to be quite tough to get into the top 2 to get to the knockout rounds in that. But if we finish 3rd, we go into the Copa Sudamericana, which is like the Europa League equivalent, the UEFA Cup equivalent in South America. So hopefully we'll at least still have some continental football to have as we get into the second half of the season. Obviously, we'll be back at the end of the Apertura in mid-July before the Clausura starts. It's opening and closing in just not my native tongue, for those who are interested in what that actually means. But yeah, that's the challenge now. Get through the first half of the season, hopefully get somewhere close to, if not winning. I think we've definitely got a stronger squad than we had when I joined. So if we can't win the first half of the season, I'll be a little bit disappointed. But that's the challenge. Win the first half of the season, take it easy in the second half, and then win the playoff at the end to become champions. And it should be Alanzia who are the nearest challengers. Obviously, they didn't win either half last year, but still won the overall title. So that will be our main threat. Right, let's go through the first half of the season, and I'll see you in July. So far, so good. We've won the opening phase of the league here in Peru. As you can see, this screen is very messy. Oh, it's chaos. But yeah, this is the one to look at here. The Apertura, we have won by 5 points in the end. 13 wins, 2 draws, 2 losses. A very, very strong start to the season. That books our place. We've qualified already for the Champions playoff. If we win the second half, the Clausura, which obviously hasn't started yet, we will automatically be crowned champions. If we finish in the top 2, so if we don't drop more than 5 points to, well, now it would be more than 7 points to whoever's third, Cesar Vallejo, we will qualify for the final, automatically not have to go through the semi-final if the top 2 are the 2 winners of the 2 halves. They're both in the final, if that makes sense. So we are already booked into the final. The Apertura is done. The overall league table obviously looks the same because the second half hasn't started yet. But that's okay, we are done there. We'll have a look at some goals in a second and go through some of the games we've won, potentially pick out a key fixture. Obviously, the 2-0 loss here to Alianza was a little bit disappointing. Christian Paz getting a brace for them. But the table itself was nice and comfortable apart from that. We drew with Cesar Vallejo, who finished third. Municipal were one of the earlier front runners. They kind of fell off a little bit, potentially after we beat them 3-0. And one thing I did want to look at, where's the game I was going to flag? Where is it? This one here against Juan Auric. So we played a second string side essentially. Quite a few the younger players who don't normally get a look in, particularly the striker, who you will, if you've looked on screen, will have seen 4 goals. But it was basically quite a few second choice players involved, and this guy Carrillo gets his first start in since I've joined, so over 2 seasons. And got 4 goals. So we went 2-0 up. They got one back. Still quite level, I guess, at this point in the game. Half an hour gone. They took a good movement on the edge of the area and shot from range to get one back. But we didn't give them much breathing space because Carrillo got his 4 goals in this game. Ball over the top. Header at the back. Just sort of slipped in behind the defenders, between the defenders. Headed home to get his second. Second half continued the route, basically. Silva, who is someone else I'm going to touch on in a second, with a ball over Carrillo with another header just inside the second half. They did get one back to make it 4-2, but really, despite this sort of slightly weaker side we'd put out, it was essentially a job done by that point. And then this final movement, as we played some lovely football through the avenue, through the channels, and Carrillo with a little dink over the goalkeeper to make it 5-2, gets his 4th of the game. Let's look at his stats here. He started 2 games, got 5 goals. Can't really complain about that, can you? But he's definitely not our first choice goalkeeper, or goal scorer for that matter. He's definitely not first choice goalkeeper. Sebastian Torres has got 15 goals so far in 19 starts. He's tailed off a little bit since his flashy start at the beginning of the season. Got 10 in 12 in the league, 4 in 6 in the Libertadores, which we'll touch in a second. I did want to mention Cesar Silva, who signed for us last season before I joined for 525k from Alianza Atletico, and then didn't start a single game. Obviously, we didn't. In my formation, we didn't have a right winger. We had a right midfielder. We had a right winger, so we never really got a look in. And as I was going through as part of the restructure of the tactic and the formation, realised he's actually quite good, and he's played really well so far. 15 appearances in the league, 7.58 average rating from the right midfield position, and obviously a real good addition to the starting lineup. Torres, as I mentioned, got the most goals so far. Rodriguez and Solis from the attacking midfielder positions, and Valenzuela, they're the 3 that kind of rotate in those positions. Sometimes go into the centre midfield. Between the 3 of them, they've got 6 goals each. So that's not bad at all. Average rating, as we mentioned, Carrillo is up there because of his 2 starts, getting crazy amounts of goals. Again, Flores is up there. He's not generally a starter, but Cesar Silva, as mentioned, has been a revelation and basically a new signing without really being a new signing. We did get another couple of guys in towards the end. Well, one more guy in towards the end of the transfer window. Another Diego Solis this time, a right winger to provide a bit more depth behind Cesar Silva. And then a final signing who just joined us at the beginning of July, Edwin Torres, who you probably won't remember from Slovan Bratislava because he was at the club. I think I loaned him out for the season I was there because he couldn't quite break into the first team. But he's come back to Peru now. Left back, veteran, plenty of caps, some decent support in the left wing back position. Will basically be behind Jean Maldonado as our second choice left back. We've got rid of a few of the sort of second string younger players who haven't quite developed enough. A couple of loans, a couple of sales. There's another one about to go through as well. This guy Jordan Duran, who is a defensive midfielder and is another defensive midfielder who we're getting rid of because we don't need them anymore. At one point we did have a few key squad members being very unhappy because we didn't have strength in depth, and at that point we were completely unbeaten in the league. So screw them, they've soon changed their tune, but it's something that happens quite frequently. Like Botero here is unhappy we haven't strengthened the back teams, the staff basically. even though we've dominated the league. So people are never happy, are they? I did briefly want to mention the Copa Libertadores. We had a pretty poor showing in the group. If we go to the group stage, Group G is where we were. We won the last 2 games. We ended up beating Palmeiras in the final game, which was a slight turn-up for the Bucks, but they'd already qualified. We had already not qualified. So 2 wins, a draw. We basically drew with Caracas at home and then beat them away 6-4. We'll show that one in a second. And lost both games to Penarol quite convincingly, and also lost the other game to Palmeiras. So we've gone through the group and ended up in the Copa Sudamericana, where we're going to face Guayarana from Paraguay in the knockout round, which I think is coming up in a couple of weeks. In fact, no, 1 week's time. Quickly show you that 6-4 game, because it was a bit daft. Won't go through all the goals, but basically we won 6-4. Which was crazy. Back and forth, they were winning 2-1 at half-time. And then the second half, including 2 goals in added time at the end of the day. Sebastian Torres coming in to get his first goal of the game. And then Solis getting a hat-trick for the surname, but his first of the game, because Solis got 2. Diego Solis got the last one at the 95th minute. But we managed to steal that one. It kind of just about did us justice for being the slightly better side, but 6-4 is ridiculous of a scoreline. But that wasn't really enough to get us through. That we'd confirmed that we were not qualified after that game. But never mind. Oh, we've already done the first... In fact, yes, we have already done the first knockout round leg against Guayarana, won 3-0. Second leg is up in a week, so we are well into the continental competitions. Hopefully I have a good run in the Sudamericana as well, potentially get a trophy there that we haven't won yet, obviously, because it's the first time we're in South America on this save. But the important business is that the Apertura has been completed and we've won it, so it means the second half of the season should be less pressure. We just need to finish in the top 2, and we've got a nice big buffer over everyone because we dominated the first half of the season. Alianza lost 5 games, so we've got 5 points on them going into the second half. But if they win the league, we need to make sure we don't drop more than out of the top 2, basically, and then we can face them in the final. If we manage to win the Clausura, though, we automatically become champions, as mentioned. So that is obviously the target, but as said, pressure is off a little bit. We can kind of go on a bit of cruise control. We're not planning to do any more strengthening to the squad. We're pretty much done in that regard. So hopefully the second half of the season goes as well as the first. And this side, Sporting Cristal, become Peruvian champions once again. Right, let's do that. Let's play the second half of the season and find out how much of a challenge we're going to have and whether we have to go through the playoffs or not. Okay, so we start at the end, and it's the Copa Sudamericana final against Nacional from Uruguay. And it was as simple as that. Inside 10 minutes, Torres squared it from the touchline, inside to Rodriguez, and we won 1-0. Is it the first trophy this season? Do you get a trophy for winning the Apertura? I don't know, but you definitely get a trophy for winning the Copa Sudamericana. And in that instant, we finally won another continental championship. So that's the African Champions League, 2 conference leagues in Europe, and now the second tier of South American football. The Sudamericana is ours. It's off to Peru for Sporting Cristal. But that wasn't the only thing we won this season. Obviously, we won the Apertura in the league, and we also won the Clausura as well. So we doubled up and won in an instant without having to go into the playoffs. So the second half of the season, we did, as mentioned, take our foot off the gas a little bit. 4 draws, 2 losses compared to the Apertura, which was 2-2. So we scored 4 less points. Had a much tougher run of things, to be honest. But nobody else really wanted to match us for anything. Alianza faded again. They ended up finishing 4th in the second half of the season. Universitario came through as well and finished 2nd, but they struggled at the end. They lost the last 2 games. Cienciano, who we beat in the semi-finals of the Sudamericana, they did well. They had a really good, strong league performance in the second half of the league, but not enough in the end, and that left the overall table like this. And we won. We won both halves of the league, so we won overall. Job done. No qualms. No, oh, did you really win? No, we dominated. We absolutely dominated. I mean, I say we dominated. We only won by 9 points, but we won both halves of the league. Won overall. Comfortable. Excellent. Not Colombia. Peru. Peru is done. I Colombia is one of the nations we need to go to next, that's for sure. But as mentioned, we beat Cienciano in the semi-finals, beat Gimnasia after being 2-1 behind in the first leg in the quarterfinals, beat Bahia on penalties after losing the second leg, the away leg in the second round. So we had it was a 5-5 game there against Guiarena from Paraguay in the second leg of the knockout playoff round. So it was a good run through the Sudamericana. Obviously, we got knocked out of the Libertadores in the first half of the season, dropped into the Sudamericana, and went through and won. Who's won the Libertadores? Actually, Oh, it's not happened yet. All Brazilian finals. Corinthians place Fluminense. But we have won the Sudamericana. We've won the Liga 1. Hang on, I don't know I can't think what Spanish is for one. But the Tia Puesto, we won both halves. Job done. Competition-wise, excellent. It doesn't show us a trophy for any of these, but we've won a trophy at least. Torres got 10 in the first half. Yeah, Rodriguez got 12 in the second half, I think that means. So who knows? Sebastian Torres got 5 in the Sudamericana and 4 in the Libertadores. So he was overall top goal scorer as well on 24. Rodriguez getting 20 overall as well. Solis did really well. As we mentioned in the first half, Cesar Silva performed really strongly on the right flank. Tailed off a little bit in the second half of the season as Rodriguez came through and basically clinched the Best Player of the Season award, if one such thing happens and exists. Valenzuela also pitched in with plenty of goals. Solis and Rodas from the left wing did well, and generally speaking, we performed amicably. Is that even the right phrase? Who knows? But we've won the Peruvian League title. There's not much more to show you, really. The run across the season. We started the second half of the season a little bit slow. Couple of draws early on, couple of defeats early on. Ended up with a nice string of victories. That little draw there by Nacional after a couple of after the two set legs of the semi-final. Quite a few games in quick succession. But we did enough easily in the end to win both halves, win overall, win Peru is done. That pretty much sums up the season. We're now 76, by the way. We've just turned 76 in game. Getting on a little bit, still got a long way to go. 65 games in charge at Sporting Cristal, 64% win percentage, which matches the overall. We're nearly at 1,700 games, which is actually ridiculous, but never mind. 24 cups, 22 leagues, but 21 nations, because Australia counted twice for some reason. And how many clubs in total? 23, because obviously we did a couple in 2 nations. But this is the end of Peru. Is there a job available anywhere? No, only the Uruguay national team, and we don't want that. So it's Chile, Colombia, and Uruguay next. I think it's either going to be Chile. Let's just go to the league to look at the league rankings for a second. If we go to the league profile page, so obviously Peru is 6th, Chile is 5th, Uruguay 4th, Colombia 3rd, and then obviously Argentina and Brazil. So naturally, it would suggest Chile should be next. But of those 3, it doesn't really matter because they're all pretty much just moving around each other. Argentina and Uruguay and Brazil clearly ahead of both of all of the other options that are playable currently. But that is it. It's time to resign once again, and I keep getting moaned at in job interviews that I resign from all my jobs. And they didn't even try and stop me this time. 65 games in charge, and they don't even want to stop me. Excellent. We have won the Peruvian League. We're going to be off to another South American nation next to tackle nation number 22 as we rapidly approach the halfway point, which is ridiculous because we are 40 years into this save. Anyway, if you've enjoyed this episode of Completing Football Manager, please make sure you like it, subscribe, comment, share. Lots of other things you could do that all other YouTubers tell you to do. Do them. And hang around, because I'm sure there'll be another great video for you to watch, and we'll tackle our next nation very, very shortly here on Completing Football Manager 2024. Thanks for watching.